All right, y'all. Welcome to another Sports Junky episode. So,
Yeah.
first, well, right now we actually currently watching the Timberwolves and Golden State game, so the results might change here in a little bit, but they're tied 1-1. You got the Thunder and the Nuggets. The Thunder, the Nuggets lead 2-1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the um, Pacers and the Cavaliers. Pacers were early in the lead for 2-1,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Knicks and the Celtics.
Mm.
The Knicks are actually up 2-1.
Yeah.
People thought that was going to go the other way, but I will say the first game the Celtics just come off a week, so that's kind of expected the way they kind of played.
Yeah.
Um, The other game, game two, Tatum kind of tricked it off a little bit at the end.
At the very end, but he's having a bad fourth quarter series.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
But I want to get to this Timberwolves and the Warriors game because actually we was wrong on our predictions.
What was that?
We said that we thought the Rockets were going to be in it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Well.
yeah,
Golden State has a way of taking advantage of the young. They did the same thing to Memphis. Memphis was a 2 seed. They were like a 7 seed, and they ran through Memphis the same way. They just they're a veteran team, and with their main core, and even some of the role players and Steve Kerr. He knows how to get his team to. He just outcoaches. Them. He just
yeah,
outcoaches them, and it actually went to 7 games. So Game 7 was in Houston, and Golden State went in and snatched their heart out.
yep.
This is what they do.
Yeah. So, but like I said, the only one that's really kind of took me off has been the Celtics and the Knicks.
Yeah.
That's the only one that's been kind of out of character right now.
They're
I
not
think.
sustaining that, and that's the problem with them. I mean, and they're finding ways not to win those first 2 games. They get up by 14, 16 points, and in the first half, and then you look up, and at the end of the third, they're either behind or um, winning by 2, and they've cut the Knicks have cut into the lead, and then that fourth quarter they're up in the fourth, and you look up and it's I don't know, their second halves, and they're shooting an awful lot of threes too.
Yeah.
They're shooting, and they're not making them. So you live by the 3, you die by the 3. But they're showing their dominance. They're outplaying the Knicks. The Knicks are doing what it takes to win in the end.
Yeah, they're just down the stretch. They're just like you said, they're finding the
This,
way.
the Celtics are beating themselves. To me, I don't think it's nothing that the Knicks are doing. The Knicks are just taking advantage of the misses.
Yeah.
They're having a lapse. Celtics are having a lapse in defense, allowing the Knicks to come back, and um, so they just need to be able to adjust in the game, go to something else. When the shots are not falling, you got to find a way to get points.
Yeah.
Then they,
Which I mean, I kind of like this unpredictable sports era that we're in because like coming from the dynasties growing up as far as like the Lakers, the Celtics, and then the Bulls in the '90s, then back to the Lakers in the early 2000s. Stuff like that. I like this unpredictability of sports to where it's like it could be anybody's game.
yeah,
It just the chips need to fall in the right space, the right parts
yeah,
for them.
parity. They call it parity.
Yeah.
There's a lot more parity than there has been. But I mean, the playoffs, even with OKC and Denver, you would have thought that OKC would just run away with it,
Yeah.
and they just haven't. And they made some improvements over last year. They were the number 1 seed in the West last year, and they're the number 1 seed overall in the NBA this year. I don't know if I think they might have been the number 1 seed overall last year between them and the Celtics, but this year for sure. And you would have thought that it would not be what it's been. And it's just there's a lot of parity, but the veteran teams are still. Denver just won a title, year before, a couple of years ago, and they're showing, the veteran teams in the playoffs are showing this is why we are who we are.
Yeah.
And these younger teams coming up, to the Timberwolves, And Ant-Man, he's struggling.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, he's struggling. He's struggling tonight. He's just been struggling. They proclaiming him to be the next Jordan. Don't put that pressure on that man.
Yeah, right. I
You
mean, and I
know.
don't like people doing that anyways, be like, oh, this is going to be the next Jordan, this is going to be the next whatever. No, let this person
You
be the
know, they,
person they're
they
going to
keep
be.
they keep claiming similarities. There's
Yeah.
nothing. He's nothing like Jordan.
Yeah.
Period.
I
He's
mean,
nothing like Jordan.
just let these players be the players
Right.
they're going to be.
He's just athletic. He's just athletic, and so they look at him being able to jump through the roof and like, oh, we got another Jordan. No, he's nothing like
Yeah.
him. Nothing.
Yeah, there will be not there will be I mean good similarities, but there will never be another Magic. There will never be another Bird. There will never be definitely another Wilt, and so forth, so on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let these players be who they're going to be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when those players were coming up, they didn't have anybody to get compared to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't like the whole comparison anything, anyways.
Yeah.
But I still like right now, because where we was doing predictions at this point, I'm scared to make a prediction because I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I'll say it again: the Celtics are the champs. Until you dethrone them, they're the favorite to me. You got to dethrone the champ.
Yeah.
Until they're knocked out, they have to be the favorites. That's just my take. I don't care.
I get
what they
that.
look,
I get
you
that
know.
because I mean, any reigning champ, you would expect them to come back and do it again.
Right.
Because especially if they didn't lose any pieces. The only difference that when Denver, when they after they made their run, they lost some of the key pieces
Yeah.
that helped them
Yeah.
win the championship.
Yeah, they got rid of Caldwell Pope and
Bruce Brown, like all them.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So like
now they just got rid of their coach. Like, how does
yeah.
that work? LeBron had nothing to do with it. Normally we could blame LeBron. Dang, he's innocent.
I know. And so like and like I said, I hate that whole firing the coaches thing, like especially a coach that won.
These players are divas.
Like
now.
especially if a coach helped you win a championship, why you gonna get rid of him because he
years.
had one bad season?
And
You
if
know?
they fired him with 4 games left in the season.
No.
They were playoff. They're in now. So
Yeah.
they fired him with 4 games left in the regular season. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, especially
None.
like these players actually had a good relationship with the coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now you're taking some of the chemistry and some of the morale away from the players because you just got rid of a coach that they actually respected.
I'm curious as to where you say we're not seeing eye to eye, where that fell apart with 4 games left in the season.
No,
And you just, like I said, you just won a championship, 2 years ago. So
Well, I mean, it was like when the Bucks getting rid of
Yes.
what's his name? Because they was like, oh well, the defense ain't hitting.
Giannis, I think Giannis has something to do with that.
Well,
But
I
he
do
just
too.
recently got fired again. He
Yeah.
was with another team, but it's hard to coach.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things that because like I said, like they was like, oh well, the defense ain't hitting. It's because you got rid of the defensive to get the offensive.
And you got rid of Drew Holiday.
Yeah, like so,
Yeah.
like where was the thinking on that?
And they were the same way. They were in the middle of their season. In fact, they were striving, and then they brought in Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
And divas. I'm just gonna call it what it is to me. These players are divas. If you don't satisfy the players, the coach's head will roll, and it doesn't make sense to me. I hate that they took that away from them.
The one thing last week I didn't bring it up, and I should have. I do want to give props to Greg Popovich. He did retire as a head coach, but they moved him up to president
of operations.
Yeah. So Greg Popovich, he's a legendary coach as far as
from the Spurs. He's got a coaching tree. There's people they've been showing these highlights, and people are like, oh, he was an assistant under Popovich. There's the Houston Rockets coach. He was on that bench. Before he went to the Celtics.
It's just something about those. It's something about those coaches. I mean, it's the same thing with Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino, they'll go through the coaching tree with him, and it's like, wow, really?
Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, I like to see
if you come from a good foundation, a program on the pro or amateur level. With the NIL, I won't call it amateur anymore, but the collegiate level. if your program has shown an ability to win, and not only that, play defense, whether it's football or basketball, you can get a job. You
Yeah,
can get a job depending on what that program needs.
yeah,
You can get a job if you come from a good coaching tree. I mean,
yeah,
a good program. Yeah.
yeah. So, uh, but yeah, I like I said, I agree with you with the whole it with them being the defending champions until they're knocked off
They're my
and
favorites.
keeping all the pieces they are still the favorite even though they're
Down
down.
2-1. Hey, the Bulls were
But
down 2-0 against the Knicks back in the '90s, and
yeah,
we
I
saw how that
mean,
played out. So
and that's the one thing about love about sports. It ain't over until the fat lady sings.
it ain't over.
No matter what my
Over.
stepfather-in-law says, it
Yeah.
was the game ain't over until that final bell sings. So it oh, that's in the fourth quarter. So yeah, we're actually watching the Timberwolves and the Warriors game right now. So
Good stuff going
yeah,
on.
um,
What's his name is out. Steph is out, but it just Steph, he's got a pulled hamstring, a grade 1 hamstring strain, so he's out. If they win, if Golden State is giving them that work, they still have found a way to win without Steph, and that begs the question. You know, Steph, they want to put him in the GOAT conversation, but he's just the best 3-point shooter that ever lived. But the game can be impacted in other ways than just shooting. You can win without him.
yeah.
They just have to and they're showing it. They're with what they have and what they're doing. They don't need to rely on his three, which so that it just I think him being out um, is gonna open up a people, especially if they get through the series.
Yeah,
Now
but I mean, injuries do have a tendency to do that to
I'm just speaking
teams.
on his legacy, though.
Yeah.
His legacy in the GOAT debate, because they're saying if he wins another title, a championship, is he in that debate now with
Well,
LeBron
I
and
mean,
Jordan?
I wouldn't say it would put him like up there as far,
Well,
but I
there's
mean,
people that are already saying it, though.
it would for me personally, it would definitely put him above LeBron because yet another player who traveled through the worst times and the best times with the team
Right,
and stick with whatever happened and still got the
right.
championships with multiple championships with that team.
But it just questions his impact with the team because they're able to win without him, is what
But
I'm
and I'm not
saying.
really looking at
So,
it like that because it's just one of those things of like I said, an injury, especially to a caliber player like that, it can pull a team together to do what they wasn't going to be able to do to begin with.
because they're too busy looking for him.
Because I mean, it's like I said, like the whole like the 1 year Louisville won the championship with when Kevin Ware blew out his leg. That team would without Kevin Ware to begin with would have not won that championship, but that injury emotionally pushed them to win the championship that year. At least that's the way I seen it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, but
so it
and that can and that in that sense, yeah, I can see a team rallying in the name of a fallen player, but he wasn't the same caliber player as Steph. He wasn't looked upon as, that he's the reason why this team is where they are, which is separates that scenario from this scenario with Steph. Because, like I said, I just feel like that. I felt like that they didn't have to rely on his 3-point shooting because his 3-point shooting more or less is clutch.
yeah.
If they fall behind, here comes Steph with a 57-foot three from half court. He's knocking down another one, and it's only his second one. So now that makes him 2 of 7 for the game. But it's
Yeah,
the timing of it.
and
So
also too, like an injury could push the younger players because I mean, especially
right,
at a player of Steph's age, it could put
he's
them.
27
It,
too. They're making him sound old, but
I
that's old
know
for
it
NBA.
is
I
old
was
for the
like at
NBA.
27, I was hooping. I
No,
was hooping at
but
27.
it's one of those things for the younger players, that's kind of like, oh well, I need to show that I'm gonna be
Yeah.
your next franchise player.
And that's so highly unlikely because I mean there's two ways you can look at that. I mean there's also pressure, but once again, I mean it's an 82 game season, so these players that have this next man up, they play,
Yeah.
they get clocked, and like I said, so I'm just looking and I'm just going by like what the media has been saying. Are they able to win now that Steph is down? You know, if they win one more, you know, if they can win another one and take it to game 6, he should be back with enough rest and all that. I'm like, shit, they can win without him. To me, like I said, without his three, look at what they doing, and
Yeah.
you know they you know once they adjust and accept that he's not going to be there, then they just don't shoot as many threes.
Yeah.
They just run your offense, and that's what they doing. I mean, you still got I mean, they still shooting
But
the
that
three.
also begs the other question. So do you think now Steve Kerr has more range to run an offense the way he wants instead of having to run it with Steph in the game?
Well, no, I'm gonna say no to that because he does sit Kerr. I mean, Steph. Kerr does sit Steph for extended minutes as well. So he's always been that player, that coach to let his bench play in the regular season. He because he gets them prepared for this type of situation. Remember, he's from that Popovich tree and that Phil Jackson tree of playing.
Yeah.
He played under Phil and he played under Popovich, where he came off the bench. He knew his role. You stay ready. You don't have to get ready.
Right.
And I think that's what he does with his players. He makes sure that they're ready for just in case. If we're gonna live and die with Steph, we got to be ready just in case something happens. Because you know he has a history of just little injuries.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the playoffs like this, not a hamstring, but he's But remember last series it was his thumb.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
I just think it's going to question his legacy as far if they continue on this pace without him. It questions like how much of a I mean they're never going to question what he's already done. I mean he's got 2 MVPs, one of them unanimous. He got all the votes, which is weird, but it just questions his value now as far as what his legacy,
Yeah, I
to
mean,
me he's just a 3-point specialist, and that's all he is to me. I mean he got handles and he can get it, he can get a quick 2, he can get to that, but I don't think that I didn't feel like they could mess around and lose this series because he's out. I just felt like they could still beat this team, and they're showing.
I mean, I'm not gonna agree with them and sit there and be like down his legacy. I mean, it could be, it may not be in the same breath as Jordan, Cream, and all them, but I mean, he does.
I'm just talking about GOAT debate because, like I said, and what you said. So you take Jordan off the Bulls, can they still find a way to win? No.
No.
You take Magic off the team, do they still find a way to win? No. And so certain teams, and so. And that's what I'm saying. That legacy, that type of legacy, has his impact right now.
Yeah.
Can you win without him? So if you can win without him, that's my question as far as a GOAT debate.
Yeah.
Does that put him up there? He's the greatest player that ever played. No.
I would say
there's people that say that though.
I would say now he's one of the greats,
shooters.
But I wouldn't say that he's the great, because I mean in my mind I don't care what anybody says, the great will always be Michael Jordan to me. So that's just to me. I mean because I get a lot of people, especially like I get my brother.
He's one of the best 2-way players that's ever done it, man.
Yeah, and
both sides of the ball.
I get my brother talking about all the time, trying to say, oh well, LeBron does this, and he tries to play both sides. He tries to say LeBron's the GOAT of longevity, but Michael Jordan's the GOAT. I'm like,
there's no such thing.
Yeah, like, come on.
I don't care what you say. Nobody losing no sleep. When you got to play LeBron, they going out to the club. When you got to play Jordan, they was tucking it in early. They was tucking it in. No, I ain't going out. I got to guard Jordan. He's not going to make no post out of me. His scrotum ain't going to be in my face.
Well, he's playing golf till noon.
Excuse me, America. But yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. So, but it's gonna be interesting to see how this playoffs play out, and we definitely gonna keep you all updated. So
go Celtics. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, this is this week's the Sports Junky Lounge. Tune in next week. We'll get some more facts and
See where the
stats for
Celtics
you.
are.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all.
Peace.